Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, and welcome to another edition of my videos. Today I wanted to do a look over a game that I played recently where I had this really nice perpetual draw. So this was a game that I played in what was the final of the Hearts knockout tournament. The team I was playing for managed to make it all the way to the final, and in this position I had what was a perpetual draw. So after c7, you'll notice here that the king can't go anywhere. Its only move that's available to him is e7. So after he played to e7, I then played knight to d5. And again, you'll see that this king can't go to either of these squares, so it has to go back to e8. And this was quite interesting from this position. Obviously I played the quick check there so his king couldn't castle, and what was funny about this position is I had a choice. Whenever I played, I knew I always had a draw in this position, which was great. So so from here, obviously I wanted to play on. I wanted to try and get into a winning position. You can see here I had quite a dominant position at this point. I did actually botch it up a little bit. I won't show you the next few moves as they are a real car crash. Really shows what a crap player I am at this game. So I'll skip forward to this position where Black managed to somehow untangle himself a little bit and now is actually threatening to checkmate in one move. So from here I thought, oh, do you know what? I'll go for the draw here. And they play for the perpetual. And lo and behold, I drew the game. And I thought that was quite funny that even, I think it was move 13, I knew I always had the draw from the beginning, from that position. And even though I started to lose the plot and lose the thread a little bit later in the match, I was still able to win the game. But it got me thinking, what are some of the best sort of perpetual draws out there? So I had a look at quite a few games. There is in fact a fantastic list of loads of chess games that have ended in sort of perpetual draws or checks or whatever, that forced draws, even stalemate tricks as well, that I had a look through. And I always thought these are quite amazing. They really, you know, it really keeps the game fresh that some things like this can occur in the positions. And so I had a real think about it myself. You know, what are some of the games that I can remember that have ended in sort of fantastic draws? And the first one that came to mind was obviously the Karl Hepper versus Philipp Mietner game. So for those who haven't seen this game before, I would recommend having a look at it before you see this game. There are some fantastic analyses online about it, but it's known as the Immortal Draw. And as you might know from, if you've ever seen sort of Immortal games before, essentially what Immortal games are is one player sacrificing loads of pieces and then getting a checkmate. But in this particular scenario, Black actually sacrifices loads of pieces, but in fact can't get the checkmate and has to settle for a draw, and it's probably the most exciting draw you'll ever see in your entire life. So let's just run through some of the moves. I won't focus too much on the analysis of this. There are some fantastic analysis already available by various other much stronger players than myself, but I think I'll go through some of the variations, show you some of the things that can occur, that could have occurred in this game. So we reached the Vienna game and bishop coming to c5. I'm just going to turn off the engine for a moment. And here white plays a very unusual move. He plays knight to a4. Now bear in mind, obviously this is a game from 1872. Opening theory was not established at all. But it commits quite a lot of offences here. Firstly, we're moving the same piece twice in the opening, and also we're moving the knights onto the rim, where it's not necessarily going to be any good in this position. But from here, Black plays a fantastic move, and would you believe it? This game has been this position has been played 14 times between. In fact, sorry, 13 times I should say, in master game levels as Black And what I think is quite fascinating about these 13 games is they've all ended in draws, which I think just says to me that, I think these probably pre-arranged draws played in big tournaments where the last round didn't matter so much, or there's prize money on the line, and these two players have settled for a draw instead of playing out the position. I don't know what you think about it. I'm just looking at the actual ELO ratings of all these players. It's like 200 500 club, 2,500 club. Very high, strong Grandmaster level play here. And 13 draws from this. So let me know what you think. I definitely think that there's probably been some pre-arrangements going on in these positions. But there we go. Okay, so bishop captures an f2, a fantastic move, very interesting move, exploiting the fact that this pawn is now hanging, this piece is hanging, and obviously the king has to capture, and the queen comes to h4. And from here, there's really only one move that white can play. If, let's say, he plays g3, this is not good at all. I mean, the queen can just capture here, and you can see immediately there's a fork here. Black will regain the material that he's lost, with a bit of change as well, since he's also picked up an extra pawn as well. So that doesn't work. So going back, some other tries. e2 doesn't really work too well. We just capture here, and we've just got this immediate fork. One last try that you might want to have a look at as well is king to f3, and from here black has a very strong continuation, d5, so potentially creating a few threats here, but also now activating the bishop on g4 with the threats of both checking the king and skewering the king and taking the queen on d1. And there's not many good lines here at all that white can play against this. So that's why e3 was played in this position. There was a check, and the king came to d3, so running away. Similarly, other moves don't really work too well. I think this is the only other potential move, but again, this falls to this sort of idea, coming in here, being very strong. In fact, actually, even better than that, again, just capturing here and forking the knight and the king here. So yeah, that can't be good. Anyway, so d5 was played, king runs to c3. So white was trying to plan to maybe get the pawn to a3, run the king away, and then argue, well, I'm still up a whole piece here, even though black's got the strong attack against me, I've actually managed to get away, and now I'll win the game through this way. The queen captures on e4, and this is, funny enough, a mistake by black, as white now has a very strong continuation here that starts with the move d4. So the purpose of this is obviously if we try and capture here with the check, the queen can capture, and although it looks like this bishop's going to fall, in fact, white has a strong continuation with d2. So now, if the queen captures on this rook, obviously he can't capture the bishop, as the rook would capture back. Here, white can play f3, and we can argue here that although black is up materially here, he's really far behind the development. White is nearly completed. He's also threatening to capture on g7, which will capture the rook, so regaining the material that he's lost with interest. So really, white's doing quite well in this position here. So yeah, really, really playable, I would say. Okay, so going back. So instead of this, c3 was played, queen captures. Instead of d4 now, if I can find the correct move here, b3. And I'll just promote this one here. So there we go, so b3. Okay, so the knight plays to a6, threatening checkmate again. So a3 was played. So a3 was played here, I do apologise. And now black has a stunning move, a really stunning move that forces a very long continuation that in the end ends as a draw. So he captures this knight on a4, fantastic. So here, by playing here, by playing this move, it now forces the white king to move forward. So he moves forward, and now the knight comes to c5, and you'll see here now that this king can no longer escape back here. It has to come either sideways or come forward here in this position. So b4 was played, a5 was played with check, and from here white actually captures this knight here, and this now forces a long drawing sequence here. So knight comes to e7. There is a check that was thrown in, so the threat of obviously playing that last move there is apparent. He wants to maybe play pawn here and then follow it up with bishop to d7. You can see here as well that this king can no longer go backwards. He's stuck in this barrier that black has created here. So this is very, very, very deadly for white here. Bishop comes to b5, king comes to d8. So sidestepping the check, still holding the threat here. Just keep that in mind. As now, if let's say he doesn't do a good move here, let's say he plays this, and again we've got this checkmate with b6. In fact, now because the bishop's there, it can no longer go to that square, which would have saved him for just a move. So white has to do something very, very proactive here, and in fact plays this fantastic move, bishop to c6. Fantastic. So in essence, escaping from the threats. I've always kind of wondered what happens after this move here. This is the only bit of this that I haven't really looked at in this position. So from here, so d5 is very playable now. So let's say he moves here, and really, I'm just looking at this. Black really has no threats. He can't get to this dark square. So, would you believe it? This king is quite safe on this square. But anyway, that wasn't played. I've always kind of wondered. I always wondered what would happen if that would happen. So that's why b6 is in fact played. And again, there's only one move for white. He can only move to b5, and from here the knight captures, and after the king captures back, there is this check with this bishop. Bear in mind, this king can't come to b7 as this is a fantastic threat, so threatening just to checkmate here. And even if the queen comes here, this is just completely losing for white. The threat is too strong. It's checkmate in 2 according to the engine. So really, really powerful. So that's why after this move, the king comes to b7. And this is a draw by Perpetual. You'll see here now the king has no squares it can go to. It has to come back to it has to come back to c6, where there'll be another check, and again just keep shuffling back and forth here. Fantastic draw, fantastic draw. So that's a very well-known draw. What about some of the lesser well-known draws? Well, I'll have a look at a few of those today. A few more sort of master games where these amazing perpetual draws, these stalemating ideas occur. We'll move our attention to another fantastic game. This is between Ernst, so Daniel Janowski versus Ernst Grunfeld. Two very strong players. Grunfeld, obviously, you may know, is the founder of the Grunfeld defense. Janowski, I believe he was a very strong Polish grandmaster. He was probably in the top 10 in his prime. So 1924, so quite an old game. And here, you'll see from this position, it's black to play. He's got a clearly winning position here. He's got the extra pawn. He's about to capture another pawn here as well. And in these positions where black is playing with 2 extra pawns in these rook and king endgames, he'll easily win, particularly because he's got these 2 pawns here on the side, which he'll use to shuffle down the board, create a shield for his king to win the position and promote one of his pawns. So really, really powerful. But here, black makes a crucial error. he plays rook takes on b2, a complete blunder, and in fact white now has a fantastic drawing sequence. I wonder if you can spot it. I'll give you a clue on the first move. White has needs to play a check, so that's your first move given to you. It needs to be a check. But here, rook. Well, white plays the only legal check, I should say, is rook to d7 check. And now the king came to h6, and from here, white has some fantastic moves here. He can now play this stunning move, rook to h7. What are you thinking? What is so good about this move? Surely he's giving up a rook. Well, if, let's say, the king captures now, I'm afraid I'll have to shake your hand, as unfortunately white can't make any moves. It's stalemate. So it will be a draw. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. So that's why the king couldn't capture here. So instead he plays a g5, and now what can white play here? Surely he's run out of checks. Well, you'd be wrong. He can capture on h5, and again, whatever black plays, if he captures here with check, captures him not with check, it'll be stalemate. Again, if he captures with the pawn, stalemate. So all black can do is just keep running, and wherever this king runs to, he's not going to stop this perpetual here. And in fact, would you believe it, this is a draw by stalemate. Fantastic stuff, absolutely fantastic stuff. So there we go. That was just a taster of some of the great checks here. I mean, we saw the fantastic immortal draw. That was a fantastic perpetual draw. Let's look at another game now. This was played between Boris Kryman and Larry Mark Christensen, two very strong grandmasters in their own rights. I think it was played in the 80s, this match. And again, we have a position where it looks like black is up against the wall here. He's about to get beaten pretty badly by whites. The simple threat, if let's say this pawn moves, we've got this check, king comes to h8, check, and whatever black does, he's going to be checkmated in very, very quick fashion. So that is why, instead of this move, black plays an absolute stunner. I don't know if you can spot it, but try and think of the most forcing move, and trying to think of a check that will force white to make a response. So you could probably see it. That's probably given me too many clues. But the move queen takes on g1, a fantastic move. So with that move, what black is drawing the game. Would you believe it? We'll look at one quick continuation. If let's say the king captures here, this actually loses for white after this continuation. He captures the rook, and after queen captures, which he's forced to, otherwise he'll lose the queen, there is this lovely attack here. So now this queen will have to exchange with this rook, and it's lost here. So that's why the king can't capture. So he has to take the queen, and from here white can force off a few more exchanges. He can capture the rook. And after white captures, it looks as though white is clearly winning here, surely. But now, black has this fantastic counterplay, a2, and that was the whole purpose of that g1, that capture on g1. He was trying to make enough time for this pawn to move down the board. And from here, white played g1, and this was actually now agreed to a draw, as although black has, well, I should say, although white is up in material, he can't stop this this a pawn effectively to progress in the position. I'll just look at an example continuation I looked at after, let's say, the rook to b4 threatening to come to b1, which would not only skewer, well, it would pin the queen and skewer it against the king, but also threatening to come in with the pawn on a2. So that's why here White does still have some chances with a7, and after b1 plays here, it looks as though black is going to be ahead here, but now there's this nice counter perpetual draw. So both sides had 2 perpetuals each, and here obviously there would be a draw here. So saving the position. And if we go back just one move, if let's say the king came here, this would obviously not work as we'll capture here, and now black's counterplay is completely gone. So that doesn't work either. So very interesting, very interesting draw. Okay, so let's look at the final game. So this was a game between a very strong player, Garry Kasparov, and his opponent was Vladimir Borisovich Tukmakov. This was played in 1981, and you can see here again, White looks like he's up against it a little bit here. He's sacrificed probably a bit too many pieces here. He's down 2 pieces, three pawns I should say. Black is looking to promote this pawn very soon, and if you went back maybe about 2 or 3 moves ago, black would be clearly winning in this position. But now White finds a fantastic perpetual move here. I don't know if you can spot it. It's a bit difficult, but I'll give you some ideas. Think about ways of getting this queen to this back rank. Obviously we can't get it to f8 as this queen guards this square. So we need to try and maybe get it to come to d8 or to h8 somehow. I don't know. So have a think about that. Maybe that's given you too much of a clue. But White here plays bishop to c7. Fantastic move, fantastic move. So it's a draw from this position. Would you believe it? If queen captures here, this would obviously lose straight away to checkmate on f8. So black has to respond. If he doesn't do anything, obviously this bishop, this knight is going to fall. So he has to capture with the rook. And now White has a fantastic drawing mechanism here. He can play d8 with check. And whatever black plays here, he's losing in this position. If, let's say, he comes to g7, well, I say losing, he's drawing, I should say. f6. If he comes to h8, maybe there is this draw as well. So the king will have to come back to g7 and with check. Come back to let's say g8 here. And, well, there would just be this check again, come here again, and it's just perpetual draw from here. So, fantastic stuff, just with that bishop c7 idea. Brilliant move. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. As I say, I hope to post some more vlogs looking at other things in the future. Let me know some of your favourite perpetual draws. I might cover them in future videos. I'll have a look at them. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.